Welcome back to JB Squared. I'm JB Hager, joined by Johan Bernil, and we're going to take a look at today's stage 12 of the 2023 Tour de France. Really tough day. We're really seeing it take a toll on a lot of these riders. And then, of course, Johan has dug up some clips of some funny stuff. It's I mean, what a great tour for the Basque Country. So Johan has a surprise for you. We'll get into that in just a minute. All right, Johan, tough day. Before we talk about today's stage winner and some of those things I just teased, let's talk about how tough it was and how all the carnage in the attacks and, I mean, in general.
Yeah, it was to be expected. It was 168 kilometers, I think, 3,200 meters again of elevation. Very, very similar stage to what we've seen on stage 10. And it did not disappoint. There was attacks from the gun, and that we saw Wout van Aert extremely active to try to go in breakaways, following moves, attacking himself. Mathieu van der Poel a few times, Matteo Jorgensen, Mateo Mohoric. I mean, if you hear those names, that means that it's really, really tough. And it actually took half the stage for the big group of breakaway guys finally to get away. It was we had 85 kilometers to go, so half stage basically. And so then it was clear that these strong guys were gone. There was no danger for the yellow jersey. And we knew from that moment on that the stage winner would come from that big breakaway with strong guys. But to win out of that group was going to be extremely difficult. We saw Mathieu van der Poel making an incredible, I would say, risky attempt. I had heard rumors that he was sick, that he has a cold. Before the stage, in his interview, he also said that he was coming back from illness, but he still was not 100%. Then when I saw him attack there, I said, wow, you look a lot better. But it was 45 kilometers to go or something. And so he really tried very hard. It looked good, but it was too far. You're in the Tour de France, and the guys behind you are super strong. So I personally think that today, Mathieu van der Poel, if he would have ridden differently and he would have waited until the last climb, he definitely could have won the stage. He did not wait long enough, and finally he got caught, and then eventually also got dropped. But at least he tried. But yeah, I mean, then we had Matteo Jorgensen trying, and Pinot trying. Those were the two strongest riders up to some point. And then finally we had Johnny Zaguirre. Johnny Zaguirre is a seasoned professional. He's 34 years old. I think he's a professional since 2010 already. Won stages already. Before today, he had already won stages in all three Grand Tours. Double Spanish champion. Won the Tour of the Basque Country. The guy's a really good rider. And so when he went, that was a moment like nobody could follow. And it looked straight away like, okay, this is it. But he still had to manage those 30 kilometers because he went with 30K to go. I think about 2 kilometers from the top of the last climb. And so there was definitely a big chase behind him with this, mainly with Matteo Jorgensen. I think Jorgensen was the strongest guy out of this breakaway.
And they could mathematically, those 6 men should have been able to chase him down, but they couldn't. They just didn't have the legs, other than Jorgensen, or what?
It's not just not having the legs. If Jorgensen was pushed in a position that, once he was with those 6 guys, these other 5 guys also feel that he's the strongest.
Right.
And if they help him to bring them back, they know that he's going to attack them, because Jorgensen needs to finish solo, or in a small group of 2 or 3 riders. So if you are strong and you're way far enough, you could, I mean, it's not a guarantee, but you could benefit from the rivalry behind you. And you know that no one wants to do anything for the other because they know that they're going to be beat anyway. So hats off to Johnny Zaguirre. You know, he won his first Tour de France stage in 2016, 7 years ago, in a stage that finished in Morzine, so in the Alps. Probably, I mean, I would have to look back, but probably after a breakaway and after doing Jouplan, which is a hard stage, which we will do in the last week. So yeah, I mean, nice win. What a change for Cofidis, right? They started off stage 2. They won in San Sebastian in the Basque Country with Victor Lafay. Now they win stage 12, 2 stages after 15 years of not winning a single stage in the Tour de France. For a sponsor that's in cycling 25 plus years, that's quite the event, winning 2 stages. And hey, I mean, listen, a team that's on a roll, maybe there's something else coming. So, but incredible stage win for Bilbao. For Izaguirre. I'm thinking about Bilbao because the Tour started in Bilbao. He's Basque. Pello Bilbao already won a stage. They're training buddies, Bilbao and Johnny Zaguirre. They had their ex-teammates, both at Astana and at Bahrain. And they're even singing and dance partners.
Okay,
as we can see here in this little video, JB.
Where did you find this?
This went viral a couple of years ago. It's the 2 Izaguirre brothers. So John, who won today, Gorka, his brother, who's at Movistar, Pello Bilbao, and Joseba Beloki, who's obviously retired. But this is the Basque national TV channel, and they interpret a very famous Basque song. It's called Aukera Berriak, which translates in Basque, so in Euskera, which translates to new opportunities. So maybe we should have a look or listen at.
Okay, here we go.
Ausardiaren negoak astindu zegan, haizeak lastantzen dago orain. Aldetara begira, sentitu zingurua, eta bertan dauden kolorea. Nire bide gurutzeak, dira aukera berriak, aukera berriak.
Okay, Johan, even though I have no idea what they're singing, that is going to be stuck in my head all day. Not just the audio, the visual of that. It's just, you've just ruined my day somehow.
Well, the two guys on the right, those are Pello Bilbao and Johnny Zaguirre. So I thought, this is a nice occasion. The Tour de France started in the Basque Country. They started in Bilbao. Both of those guys have won a stage now. So I thought it was a nice occasion to bring it up.
Now, you know what? I just thought of something. These guys, the Basque guys, could talk freely and loudly in the peloton, and no one's going to know what they're discussing.
There is no chance. JB. Anybody can understand anything.
Wow.
It has no relation with any. Not with French, not with Spanish, not with Italian, not with English, nothing. It's a completely different language. It's unpronounceable, unwritable. It's something else. It's really something else.
So just to reiterate, what a huge tour for the Basque. It's good for the French fans. This long running team. Yeah. Has been kind of just quietly sitting there for so long.
Yeah.
That's good. The French press are happy, right?
They must be. I mean, they would have preferred it was a Cofidis rider, a French rider,
Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, listen, they already got their French victory on stage 2. I don't know if there's no other French rider who won a stage, no, since then. I don't think so. No. Well, I mean, Philipsen won already 4, so there's not that many stages left. But yeah, I mean, for Cofidis, it's amazing. I saw Cedric Vasseur there after the finish. He must be living a dream right now, waiting for such a long time. And now finally it works out. Yeah, that's, they've been in there since more than 25 years. But I think that's worth a few years of sponsorship extension for him with Cofidis.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's do a little session with Johan here of what are they doing? That's what I should call this. What the heck are they doing? The big story will be Jumbo. I know you want to talk about that, but let's talk about AG2R first. You had a moment, those moments when you're scratching your head and going, what's going on here?
I mean, the breakaway was gone, right? Obviously, the peloton was in different pieces. Jumbo-Visma, what normally would happen, which is what they were doing at some point. They set a tempo, no problem for the breakaway. The guy who was best placed was Thibaut Pinot. He was outside of the top 10. They knew that if the breakaway would get too far, other teams would start to worry about, their guys being in the top 10, which happened ultimately, which we'll talk about in a bit. So they set a tempo, and what you do normally is you try to have groups from behind come back. They had 2 or 3 riders in the back. I think it was Sepp Kuss and Dylan van Baarle, I think. So that's what they did. Ultimately, those groups came back, and they had they had enough riders around Jonas Vingegaard again to make sure that he was well protected for anything that could happen. In terms of a puncture, if he needs drinks, if he needs ice cold water, whatever. So that was okay. And then all of a sudden, I start to see this AG2R coming to the front. And during the stage, I have quite a bit of communication with, some people, some DSs in the tour, some others from outside the tour, some riders, some ex-riders, and everybody was saying the same thing. What is AG2R doing? What's going on? And nobody has the answer. Nobody got the answer. The only thing I found, JB, was an explanation. Apparently, Vincent Lavenue, who is the manager, but also still the director, or one of the directors, had said to Eurosport, he said, Vincent Lavenue confirming to Eurosport that they are chasing for a better top 15 GC position. Top 15. I mean, what does that mean? I mean, I don't think they have anybody in the top 10. I would have to check. They don't. So their first rider right now is Felix Gall. He's in 17th position. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I think it was probably to preserve their potential top 15 in the next stages. Felix Gall is 9 minutes 46 down. Well, he's not far from top 15. But what do you do with the top 15, man? I mean, he's not going to get top 10. Or he must.
Top 10. We understand. That's something. Yeah. That's something to brag about. You never hear anyone say, "Hey, we finished with the top 15." You never hear that.
No way. So, and the thing is, I mean, like Jumbo-Visma, they must have been like, "Oh man, this is unbelievable." Like
getting help.
These guys are just, and they were going for a long time, like a really long time. I mean, 3 full climbs. They did the work, and they maintained that gap of like between 3 and 4 minutes, because Pinot was getting into the top 10, and Guillaume Martin actually, okay, yeah, Guillaume Martin also. So basically, they were riding because Martin and Pinot were getting into the top 15 and the top 10. Who cares? I mean, it's like, if that's what you need to do as a team, that's kind of sad. I think Felix Gall is a top rider in the mountains. I would much rather have him go full gas for a mountain stage victory, which he's capable of doing.
Yeah, that'd be a better result, to go back to your sponsors with a stage win. And so we mentioned this on the last couple of shows. I think, Jumbo's hoping that these teams who want a top 10 are going to come in and do that support. And you saw it also with Ineos today.
Yeah. Ineos, the same thing. I mean, it made more sense, but still, if you look, this is Ineos. This is not AG2R or Intermarché or Jayco Alula. This is Ineos, right? Biggest budget in pro cycling, 50 million euros per year. And they started to pull because Pinot started to be a threat for Tom Pidcock's 8th place. Probably not so much for Carlos Rodriguez' 4th place. They must have big plans with Pidcock. I mean, I think they should be optimistic because he's looking good and he's looking stronger. But still, I mean, for Pidcock, it would obviously be a great thing if he could finish top 5, for example. That would be, I think, a really important step into his career. And I think that's what he wants to accomplish. He wants to see in this Tour de France how far he can get in the future in Grand Tours. But still, I mean, it's Ineos, it's not like, they absolutely need this. And on top of that, what I always say, JB, if a guy like Pinot gets into the top 10 through a breakaway, if he wasn't in the top 10 already, it's for a reason. He had lost this time already. Mm-hmm. So it's for a reason. So he's going to lose it again in the hard mountain stages, right? So yeah, I mean, for Jumbo, it was ideal to have AG2R and then Ineos pull. They could sit back. But still, I still have one question mark about Jumbo-Visma. And that is, why do they keep, I mean, at the beginning of I'm pretty sure that before this stage, they had, marked this stage as one of the stages that would be good for Wout van Aert. And Wout van Aert tried a lot. And finally, and this often comes down to pure luck, he didn't get in the break, but he tried very hard. So he spent a lot of energy in the first half of this stage. And then finally, they have Tish Benoot in the breakaway while they're wearing the yellow jersey. In looking at the composition of that breakaway, Tish Benoot was not going to win this stage. It was going to be very difficult. So then my question is, why do you let these guys get in there? It's not going to change anything. Especially at some point, they had 2 or 3 guys who were dropped from the main group. And then, so if you have 2 guys dropped and 1 guy in front, it only leaves you with a few guys for Vingegaard, Plus, Tish Benoot had spent also a lot of energy today. First of all, he was, never skipped a turn. And then at the end, he was chasing or trying to attack or trying to win the stage. So those are the things that between the old farts of cycling, we have our WhatsApp, what the hell is these guys doing? It's like, but apparently that's just the norm, it's just the norm. It keeps happening.
I'd love your thoughts on this. I can't help but wonder if Jonas Vingegaard sits there sometimes and thinks, what do I have to do to get this team's attention and respect? I know that sounds weird, but it's like when he sees these people doing these random efforts, it's like, I'm the defending champion. I'm trying to win this tour.
I don't think he thinks like that, JB. You know why I don't think he thinks like that? Because he's used to this. Jonas Vingegaard came to the sport. He came to Jumbo-Visma at the first level, and they've been racing like this since he's there.
Yeah. I also went and looked at the roster, and he's the youngest on the team by 2 years. The whole team. Wow. And I feel like they treat him like the baby brother, The big brother's still just like, hey, little man, slow down.
Yeah.
Just my take on it. I don't know.
I think personally, I think that today, and especially now going into the mountain stages, Wout van Aert and Tish Benoot have spent useless energy today. They're super strong, and maybe it's not needed, but man, I hope I'm wrong. I hope for them I'm wrong.
Yeah.
There comes a time where they'll say, damn, if we wouldn't have spent that much energy when we had the choice,
Today's show is brought to you by Ketone IQ, made by HVMN. On an upcoming show, we're going to talk to Michael, the CEO of HVMN. I think you'll find it pretty interesting. And, I challenge you to do a subscription to it. Give it a few months. I can vouch for it personally that I definitely feel more mental clarity, more sharpness, alertness, not bonking during the day. And that's on a shot a day. So there's a couple options for you. You can use these little, what I just call the travel pack kind of size. You're going on a trip, throw a bunch of these in your bag. Or in my fridge, I have these large bottles, which is actually 10 shots per bottle. So, try a subscription, give it a few months. I think you'll see some improvement, whether it's physical, mental. You'll definitely feel something. I have, and 60% of the peloton in the tour is using this. This says something all in itself. Available at Sprouts. If you have one of those in your city, you can grab them there. Or you can get 30% off the subscription that I mentioned of Ketone IQ at hvmn.com/themove. Again, visit hvmn.com/themove and subscribe checkout for 30% off. Today's show is also brought to you by Ventum. We've been telling you about the NS1 for some time, their road bike. And then they released the GS1 just a few years ago. And now the all-new GS1, which is the bike that I just got. And I can tell you personally that I'm enjoying it out here in Aspen because there's a big trail that connects the towns through the valley. And it goes back and forth between paved and gravel. And I've ridden it in the past on my road bike, and it was doable, but you just feel like you're going to slide out on any corner. So you're slowing it way down. Not anymore. The GS1, you just kind of keep rocking. You don't care what the terrain is. Maybe you have some pathways that are just lumpy. They've aged a bit. Man, it just takes all that out of it riding a GS1. It's just an incredible bike. You can build it out online, which is a fun thing to do. Just go in there, pick the frame. All the frames are the same, top of the line, no matter how you outfit it. And you can outfit it as low as on the GS1 as just under $3,000, $2,999 with the SRAM Apex AXS. And then you can build out and spec out everything to your liking. It's a really fun exercise to do. And they offer, and I kind of compared it to some of the other brands where you can order online. They offer a lot more detail in how you build it out. Handlebar width, crank length, all those things. Check it out at ventumracing.com, and you can get 10% off when you use the code WEDO at checkout. 10% off a bike really adds up. WEDO at checkout at ventumracing.com/themove. Another question mark. Pogačar sprinting for 12th place.
Same thing, JB. Same thing. Why? There's no answer. It makes zero sense. When the only thing I can say is that he messed up my head-to-head prediction of outcomes yesterday because I had figured out that he was sitting on Jonas in all the stages and didn't bother to pass him.
That little,
so, it has happened like 3 times in a row. So yesterday, the head-to-head, Jonas Vingegaard versus Pogačar for today's stage, I said, well, Vingegaard comes in before Pogačar. So he messed that one up.
That little worthless sprint killed.
Thank you, Tadej. Thank you.
Okay, I think that wraps up everything from today that we wanted to discuss. Tomorrow, all right, kids, take a look at this profile. Mm-hmm. All right. This is going to be a tough day and a GC battle.
Yeah, so it's 138 kilometers. Short stage, relatively easy lead up towards the last climb, which is the Grand Colombier horse category climb. So, horse category it needs to be hard, and especially having in mind that it's not super high. It's what is it? It's 1,500 meters, I think, altitude. But it's 17 and a half kilometers long, the last climb, and 7%, 7.2% average, but with certain parts of 13, 14%. That's a hard climb, a really hard climb. I definitely expect it to be a GC battle. I saw an interview of Marijn Zeeman, the head guy of Jumbo-Visma, and he said tomorrow this is a typical stage for Pogačar, which is explosive with one climb. You could say, yeah, that's true, but Vingegaard is a good climber too. I mean, he's one of the best climbers in the world. So they said that they will ride defensively, which means not trying to do a lead out on the climb, like putting a train and going faster and faster and faster.
That hasn't been working well.
Well, no, it has worked. It has worked on stage 5. Didn't work anymore on stage 6 and beyond. I don't really know if that's the right thing to do either, because that if they wait for Pogačar, once Pogačar goes, it's only going to be Vingegaard with him, and they have no use of their team, Jumbo-Visma. So maybe they can say, okay, Pogačar goes, Vingegaard follows, and then basically it's a day off for our team guys, and they can use that strength the day after when we get really into the Alps, because tomorrow is not the Alps. So we get into it's called the Jura Mountains. It's not the Alps yet. But it promises to be an interesting finish. Pogačar has good memories of this climb, because in 2020, when he won his first Tour de France, he won on top of that climb. He was in the white jersey, and he beat Primož Roglič, who was in the yellow jersey and on Jumbo-Visma. So, there's some kind of history there already. Although I remember that particular stage that Jumbo-Visma was driving it up that climb, and finally Pogačar beat Primož, but it was in the sprint, so it didn't really matter. But yeah, so
you refer to that often when somebody's won somewhere before. That must have a mental advantage.
I think the mental advantage here is that Pogačar won there in race circumstances in the Tour de France, and I heard that Jonas, he only did it once in training, so reconning and training is not the same as racing on it. I don't know if Pogačar, since he has won there in 2020, if he has gone back to recon it again. It's sometimes necessary. So I don't know if he had enough time to do that, with his injury and then going to altitude. And I don't know what happened there, but, definitely has good memories, and he knows that it's a climb that's suited well for him. It's a climb. There's a lot of difference in pace. It's like steep, then it flattens out a little bit, then it goes. It's like in stairs, and and it gets hard towards the top. So, yeah, I think it could be a Pogacar day tomorrow.
It sounds like it favors him. We do have a soundbite here. Can you tell me where you got this with Vingegaard?
Yeah, so we're collaborating this year with BT. It's a Danish news outlet, and so they were kind enough to send me this quote from Jonas Vingegaard from today after the stage, in which he talks about today's stage and also a little bit about tomorrow's stage, what he expects.
It was non-stop today. This tour is absolutely crazy. Is that the feeling that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think every day is just full on, and today was no exception. So yeah, the race was full on again, and I think from Euro's perspective, I think it has been a great tour so far.
How tough was it on your legs, and what could be the consequences of a stage like today's for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a hard stage in the end, and I think the consequences, like everything builds up and the fatigue builds up, and we will see in the third week how much it builds up.
Tomorrow is a key stage going up to Montgolfier. First of all, do you know Montgolfier?
Yeah, I did it. I've done it once, so I know it.
There's one big climb in the day. Is that something that you prefer, and you expecting a big battle? Of course you are. Of course you are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready for the battle tomorrow, and I'll just do my best tomorrow, and then we'll see what it is in the end.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, so as we can hear, Jonas confirms how hard of a stage it was today. He says that the fatigue is adding up, and that at some point during the third week, people will feel it, and that he's ready for tomorrow. What else he's going to say? He's not going to say, tomorrow's not good for me. I feel bad. He's going to, but yeah, I mean, the only thing I can sense, I don't know if it's just an impression or if just something that I'm building up in my mind, but the super confidence has kind of faded away, and they're talking neutrally. Both Marijn Zeeman and Jonas Vingegaard, they're talking very conservatively and respectful of the rivals. Maybe it's just an impression, but there's not an overload of self-confidence. He just said, okay, I'm ready. I've reconned the stage, so we'll see. I'll do my best. I'll do my best. It's not. Don't know. Right. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I don't know. But
well, it's such a different era now. I was just thinking in my head, if you were a director now, would you try to isolate your writers from the media and social media and what everybody's saying? I don't know if you can. I think that
you can't.
They all have their devices all the time and do whatever.
Well, I mean, you can ask Lance and George and others. I know I did that for a while in the early years of Postal. That was actually the beginning of the internet. When I didn't allow them to be their laptops to the tour, which was George said, how we're going to communicate with our family. But I think I could hold it like for 2-3 years, and then I had to give in. I couldn't hold it. I couldn't enforce it anymore.
Yeah, it's just such a mental game when you start reading things. And I know some of them listen to this show, and they're hearing, your praise and criticism. And by the way, comments on our show, like I've got Teflon for skin, just so you know. I've been in media for 30 years, and I know Johan's even tougher than me. So bring it. We love it. But most
are we getting hate?
No, it's 99% positive.
Okay, good. There's always a few, JB.
Oh, I know.
And you know this better than anybody. The vast majority does not comment, right?
Right.
And then you have the people who comment, and most of them are super positive and supportive. And then there's a few frustrated, unhappy people who are just sitting at home anonymously behind the keyboard, and they don't know what to do with their day, and they just whatever.
Hey, back to tomorrow. There is a relatively flat run-in for some time before these two big climbs. Is that a breakaway opportunity? Would they let them put enough time in?
There's going to be a break.
But we also know how fast these GC top guys can catch someone. It could look like a big...
what I could foresee, as a potential scenario, is that there's a break. Jumbo-Visma will definitely not chase it down because they want to create a situation where the bonus seconds are gone. There's bonus seconds at the finish. And maybe UAE wants the opposite. So they have three riders. I think, they have the two Scandinavians, they have Björk, they have Langen, and they have Matteo Trentin. With those three riders on the first part, they have enough to keep the breakaway close enough that they're going to get caught on the last climb. And then they have four guys left for the last climb. So I think it's GC day tomorrow. Breakaway will be going. It may also be that Pogačar doesn't really care about the bonuses and that he just wants to, attack and get rid of Vingegaard. I would personally think that the way I've seen things on the Puy de Dôme, Pogačar may want to have a shot at the bonuses.
And when he attacks hard. We just saw it.
Yeah.
Could the Tour be decided tomorrow?
No,
it's not over.
Not tomorrow. No,
not tomorrow.
No, it could be that we have a change in jersey. I would say probably not. But the Tour is not going to be decided tomorrow, though.
Okay.
By the way, I said on another podcast, that the Tour will be decided in the next three stages. There's one stage I forgot, which was the stage to Morzine, is the day after the time trial with Col de la Loze, which is the hardest climb of the whole Tour. So I'm going to have to correct that, and it's it could be decided, but not necessarily.
Okay. All right. Well, let's jump into our Ventum Tour trivia. Brand new NS1. The road bike is up for grabs. You just get to participate every day, and every day from all the correct answers, they draw one winner. And on the last day, we'll pick one of those, and you'll pick up a brand new Ventum NS1. Yesterday's question, just for fun, the tallest person ever to race in the Tour was Marcel Seberg at 6'6". Which I didn't do the translation on.
Well, I would have thought Eros Poli.
Yeah, he's 6'5". That name came up on the move. He's 6'5".
Eros Poli is yeah.
And just to give you the scope of things, George is 6'3", and he would tower above everybody. If you remember.
Yeah.
Today's question.
No, you know what I mean, JB. Being that tall to be a cyclist. That's a huge disadvantage.
Yeah. Your face is in the wind a lot.
Well, yeah, and yes, that's for one. I mean, obviously, usually these guys have big power. Some of them are really good time trialists because, but still, being so tall, I mean, the center of gravity is, your downhills are a nightmare.
Do they use longer cranks typically?
That's also something, JB, that you before that, yes. The answer that I know is yes.
Yeah.
Nowadays, they've changed. Now apparently, shorter cranks are better for aerodynamics. I have been told. Makes not much sense to me because the longer lever you have, and the longer legs, the longer femur you have. Right. You would think that you can generate more power with a long femur and a long crank. For example, Miguel Indurain was riding 180 cranks all the time. Now I've heard that in certain time trials, some cyclists are riding with 165 cranks, which was typically the length of a crank for velodrome races.
Today's question is, who is this year's, not of all time, this tour, oldest rider? I don't know if you know that off the top of your head. And that's going to take some research. You're going to have to pull up every roster and look up their ages.
Is that today or at the start of the tour?
Oh, that's a I know where you're going with this, with calf, right? That's I guess I should make the decision here. It's because it doesn't specify who. Let's say that's still in the tour for
at
today.
The start of I think at the start. It should say at the start of the tour.
Should we do that? You think it should be that?
Yeah.
I'll let you. You're the deciding. Okay. From the start, the rosters from the start, who is the oldest rider in this year's tour? We'll go with that. And you kind of gave away the answer, I think.
No, not yet. I mean,
send your answer to trivia@ventumracing.com. All right. Good luck. A couple of questions real quick, since we have time. After seeing stage 11 and the rain, my question is, what happens to the race if there's a thunderstorm with lightning, hail, etc.? Do they pause the race? Do they ride on? I feel like most tour stages, you don't really see that much bad weather, although we've seen some snowstorms, haven't we?
Yeah.
Maybe not the Tour de France, but in Giro for sure. So why is that? That's from Sam in Ellicott City, Maryland.
Mm-hmm. I've never seen hail and thunderstorms, and I've never seen a stage neutralized because of that. I mean, obviously, not in the Tour de France, at least. Usually, it's because of the cold. Hail could be, actually, you know what? I've seen a stage. That's a really funny story about this. I don't know if we want to go, but anyway, there was a stage in the Tour of Switzerland, and that got neutralized by hail. I was not there actually, but Dirk de Mol was there, and he told me the story. We had a rider in a break, and so the break had just gone, and there was 4 riders or 5 riders, and one of our riders was in there. And all of a sudden starts to hail, like really, really bad. So they neutralized the stage because riders were looking for shelter everywhere. Mm. And so Dirk knew that break was gone and that, he needed to talk with the rider. So he was on the radio trying to get in touch with the rider, because obviously they also went for shelter. He didn't know where he was. And so finally, after trying, hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Finally, the guy, after 5 minutes, he got on the radio. He said, yeah, I'm here. And so it turned out that these 4 guys, they had, gone off the road, went onto a parking lot, and they went into a big doghouse to find shelter. And the guy was underneath, and there was 3 guys on top of him. And he couldn't reach his radio for the microphone. So he was hearing in his ear, hey, where are you? And he couldn't answer. That stage got neutralized, and then they started again. So,
well, even in recent history, the tour when Bernal won, weather was a factor. It caused the mudslide, blocked the road, and ended it, which was wild.
But normally for heavy rain and it needs to be really, really bad. Personally, I've never experienced as a cyclist anything of that. For snow, yes, but that's more like in the beginning of the season, or all of a sudden you get through a part where there's ice on the road because the sun couldn't get after on a mountain or something. But
and we did see too, Sam, is when we tried to cover Tour of Colorado, the storms did not affect the race, but it affected the coverage. We had nothing to look at until they got into town for the finale. Or if it was a mountaintop finish, we didn't even see it. It was a really difficult race to cover because of the weather, the planes that pick up all the motorbikes and camera feeds was no go. One more quick question here. After watching Philipsen win his fourth, I'm wondering if there's a psychological effect that happens to the other sprinters after losing 4 times in a row. I know personally, I do not like losing repeatedly to the same rider, whether it be on a group ride or in a race. It's hard not to accept the defeat before it happens after losing to the same person repeatedly. Ryan, what's that like for these sprinters?
No, for sure. It has a psychological effect. I mean, especially in those, straight sprint stages where you could say, okay, this is going to be for sure a sprint. And especially now that he has won without his top lead out guy, it's even worse. Before they could say, what are we going to do? He has the best lead out guy in the world.
They could say, if I had Van der Poel, I would have won.
Yeah,
right.
That doesn't work anymore now because he won without him. So, it must not be easy for the other sprinters. Well, first of all, we saw today Fabio Jakobsen didn't start the stage. He went home because he felt like he could not recover and get back up to the level he needs to be after his crash early on. I think that was to be expected. And we saw Caleb Ewan getting dropped once again, the first rider in the race. And if I look at the results, both him and his teammate, poor Jasper de Buist, who was on a mission to stay with him, he got dropped straight away, Ewan. And they finished 37 minutes down, just the two of them. They finished 10 minutes behind the last group. So that means that they did the whole stage by themselves. I mean, that's not looking good. That's not looking good at all.
It's tougher on these sprinters now, the way the first week of the tour is designed. It's not like the old days where it was a sprinter show for 10 days.
Yeah.
They've got to get over these brutal climbs.
That must have been a nightmare for those. Imagine they did the whole stage, 168 kilometers by themselves. I mean, what are you going to, and most of the time, it's probably the Buist who was pulling, dragging Caleb Ewan, who, maybe, but more and more unlikely, is going to win a stage. That's a hard job. That's a really hard job for a teammate.
Well, we'll wrap it up on that note. Thank you for rounding up the sound bites and that video that's still stuck in my head. Play that over and over. I
have it also. I have the melody in my head.
Don't know what they're saying,
again?
But I can
hear
it.
What is it again? Aukera Beriak. New opportunities. There's always new opportunities, JB. So
I'll play it one more time for our listeners.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Johan.
Aztutako ateak azaltzen hasten dira, euren bilagoa zenean. Ausardiaren egoak astindu zegan, haizeak lastantzen dau orain. Aldetara begira, sentitu zingurua, eta bertan dauden kolorea. Nire bide gurutzeak, dira aukera berriak, dira aukera berriak.